So that's Gypsy and Fleetwood Mac. You're tuned to the biggest station. It's Mansfield 103.2. Now, I've been promising it all morning. I'm joined in the studio by my Managing Director, Tony Delahunty, and also the MP for Mansfield, Alan Meale. Tony will be speaking to Mr. Meale about the referendum debate, which is taking place tonight at the Mansfield Library from 7 o'clock.
Yes, Alan, and first of all, let me say congratulations on your performance on Saturday as a commentator in football.
Well, thanks very much. It's a shame that we didn't get the result we deserved, because clearly Mansfield were the better team, and they had so many chances. It was unbelievable. They were quite unlucky, really. You
sounded very down towards the end, I have to admit.
Yeah, it gets a bit shaky, but I'm a great one, for being proactive. I believe that it's all in our hands now. We have to win on Saturday, even to get the runners-up spot. So we play the bottom 7th club, or if tomorrow night the Carlisle game, which I understand Mansfield are actually covering, if they lose or draw, we'll win, I think, and it'll make it very difficult for them, because I don't think Plymouth can be defeated at their ground this year, and that means Cheltenham will lose. So we could go up.
Well, I digress from our main point, but yes, you're quite right. Mansfield 103.2 are covering the match tomorrow night.
Well, it's a great credit to the the company for actually taking a decision to that, because it shows you're part of the community. This radio station really, and the coverage it's given to Mansfield Town this year, has been tremendous. And Saturday was an example of that. But to go up to Carlisle, which is not the most hospitable place in the world, it's a long way away, and for Cheltenham a bit farther. So, I hope everybody listens in. It's going to be a very exciting time tomorrow night.
And I also hope that everybody listens in. That's a beautiful way to bring us to what we're going to discuss now, to this evening, because in its own way, just as important, perhaps far more important, you would argue, as to whether Mansfield make it up another division. And I know there are business arguments in that Mansfield will bring more credit to the town and therefore more business, etc., if the football team go up. But equally important is a moment of history, which we're going to be debating tonight, and you're chairing that debate. Right. This is whether Mansfield should have a mayor, the referendum coming up.
Well, what's happened, what everybody's got to understand, it's going to be a very interesting debate tonight, because we've got the people who say it should be run by a leader and a cabinet, and you've got the people who say no, it should be a mayor, democratically elected and accountable, of course, to the people of Mansfield, whether that person should run it also with a cabinet. And the debate will feature tonight the two largest protagonists on either side: Jim Hawkins, the leader of the council, and of course Stuart Wriggersley, the leader of those who want a mayor. So you're going to have the opportunity to listen to all the arguments, the movers and the seconders tonight, and to also to listen to them responding to questions which people have put. Now, I've seen the questions. I'm not going to go into them on the radio now, but they're very, very interesting questions, and very interesting in that everybody in Mansfield should be actually asking questions like them about how our district is run and what having a mayor or not having a mayor means.
Now, as far as the rights and wrongs of it, we're not going to go into that, but I can tell you that I was speaking to Jeremy Prues, who's the editor at the Mansfield Chad, and they have had a deal of interest shown, questions that have been put in, etc. They've sorted the questions so that they're not questions of duplicity, and we too here have not so much been involved in questions, but we had tickets to be able to give away, and people have been popping in to pick those tickets up to go tonight. I think there'll be about 200 people. It'll be up to capacity in the hall, and we're broadcasting the whole thing, and it'll be done in a debate way. Now, can you just explain that, proposer and seconder?
Well, what's going to happen tonight actually is there's going to be a short introduction by you.
Me?
Saying to people why this is happening. This is only the second time people in Mansfield have ever been given the opportunity to have a referendum.
The last time was?
Well, it was the EEC when we joined Europe. And, there was a full and frank debate up and down the length and breadth of the country. But, of course, Mansfield didn't have a radio station then. Now what we've got is tremendous credit to both the Chad and to 103, because, they've taken the decision. This is a very important matter, and we should get the people together and actually put the arguments and put questions from the people.
Our decision, in strict programming terms, if somebody asked, well, what will our listening audience be at that time of night and what would they prefer, the answer is probably that our listening audience at that time of night would prefer to hear pop music, right? Yeah. Now, that's a fact. Yeah. But the real importance of this is that we realise that the people of Mansfield do like to have a say. The people who vote for you do like to have a say, and they have a right to be able to gain the knowledge of what this is all about. Whether they agree that there should be a mayor or the present system is immaterial to that. We think it is the right from child to student to parent to industrialist to whatever to actually know what it's all about and the pros and cons as seen by both sides. And therefore, our first thought was, well, we'll sacrifice a side of the audience. Our second thought coming to us now is, as we're getting phone calls in and saying, what time is it on for deafness and etc., who's speaking, is that there is an interest out there. And I think that you've also found that in dealing with some of the schools.
Well, there is. I mean, we often, politicians are often said to them, who do you really represent? Now, it's easier for me because in a general election there is a large participation amongst the electorate. But that's adults. There's also younger people who haven't got a vote but still think about politics. I mean, parents often say to me, how does my child know who you are? And I said, because they read the newspapers. He said, oh, no. They said, yes, all those newspapers that come through your door, they actually read them. They listen to radio, they watch television, and they know what the issues are. But, sometimes children grow up very quickly, but we shouldn't, forget that they actually, they do listen, they do learn, and they do get, they have inquiring minds. So I think it's a great credit to Mansfield Radio that they've taken the decision to cover this debate. It's a great credit to the Chad because what they've said is, a lot of people don't understand the issues. It is very historic. It's only the second time it's ever occurred. And actually it's a real opportunity for the people of Mansfield to engage. And good media, good radio, good television, good newspapers are about community, about engaging with the people who live in a community, not only the electors, but everybody else. For instance, there'll be young people there tonight who are taking A-levels or other qualifications for either citizenship or A-levels or, the equivalent.
We've heard of a guy coming down from Leeds University who's on a political course who's wanted to be there tonight to see exactly what's happening.
Well, so far in Britain, there's only been 23 occasions where communities have taken this decision.
How have they gone, by the way, just as a matter?
Yeah, so far there's 8 said that they wanted a mayor, and those have moved into operation. There's another 5 outstanding, and of course the rest voted against. But I mean, that's the democratic process. People get the right to choose on the day. But, politicians should beware. What we have is a situation with a modern society where less and less people are voting or taking an interest in politics. And good community media is about getting over that hurdle. And good politicians are those that actually seek to engage the electorate, either by radio, or newspapers or television, or actually giving people the opportunity to participate themselves.
So it's vitally important tonight that people take the opportunity, because we're giving the opportunity, the Chad are giving the opportunity. Mansfield 103.2, singing our own song, which you kindly sung for us with praise. I mean, that is an opportunity for people to listen. And if they don't listen tonight, if they choose to turn their back on it, that's their fault. I mean, it is an opportunity there. And if a child should tell a parent, the parent should tell a child.
Tony, it would be our fault if we didn't say we're going to act responsibly. We're going to actually say this is historic and everybody's got to actually listen to it if they choose to. We've got to give the opportunity to platforms for people who represent either side, or any side of this particular argument.
And we're talking about people here with strong opinions, aren't we?
That's right. I mean, I've seen some of the questions. There are people who are not part of political parties who have actually written in today, engaging perhaps for the first time ever in actually the political process. And that's very good. There are people who have asked questions who are not members of any political persuasion at all, and some that are. So it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see how those people, the movers and the seconders on both sides, are going to respond.
And it's interesting here too, because we're talking about major personalities here. I mean, let's take it on the one side. You're talking about the leader of Mansfield at the moment, Jim Hawkins. I mean, that's a strong personality. He has a view. His seconder, no doubt, has a view. Les Marshall, and on the other side of it, you've got Stuart Rickersey, so long involved with the lifeblood of Mansfield.
That's right.
Okay, so and with him, his seconder, who I understand will be a very strong speaker also. So what people are going to see or hear or read about in the Chad is going to be some very strong, emotive arguments.
I know, and there are stark differences between all the people who are going to be speaking tonight. They're going to be putting different answers, different responses to all the questions that's being put. They do represent different viewpoints. firstly, the two movers. I mean, Stuart has been well engaged in this community, both in the business sense and also in the community through a range of other activities. And he's also an ex-senior executive with the Chad newspaper. On the other side, Jim's the longest-serving leader of any authority in the whole of Britain. You know, so there's a tremendous wealth of experience there. So it's going to be very, very interesting tonight to hear their responses, which I believe are going to be very, very different than what people expect. But a lot of common sense will be talked tonight.
Will you have any yellow and red cards?
Well, one thing I'm going to make absolutely sure is that it doesn't, descend into personality politics. And the second thing is I'll warn everybody beforehand, the laws are liable to apply, you know, in debates like this. And certainly we're trying to communicate with the electorate here. We're not into personality bitching on any kind of scale. We want open debate and we want good answers, short and sharp, and in a way that people can actually understand.
You're going to enjoy this, aren't you, apart from anything else?
I think so. It's part of the democratic process. I'm very independent-mindedly in that I believe that politicians should engage with the electorate and should have a level playing field to do that. I believe we've got the opportunity tonight for the community to actually examine the issues, and I think that's really going to be very interesting. I
look forward to seeing you there, Alan. I'll just recap again that it starts at 7 o'clock this evening. It's going to be about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And the questions will be heard on Mansfield 103.2 and no doubt will be covered in great detail by the Chad on Wednesday. We look forward to listening to you tonight. Will you be listening to us tomorrow night?
Yes, I'll be listening. There'll be no doubt at all. I've already tried to sketch in a link plan to get into the game. If I can't get into Radio Mansfield, because of course I'm in London, the House of Commons, I'll
get in the website. Get on the website.
Yeah, I'll probably
Mansfield Town's own website.
Believe me,
make them a few bob.
I can tell you that I will be engaged at any price tomorrow to listen to that result, albeit I'll be in London.
Alan Meale, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Advertising on Mansfield 103.2 does work.
Graham Fogelman, Chief Executive of Label Trade.